to say it again, Boston. Anything's possible. Banner number 18 has been secured. Brown goes inside. Oh, what a slam from Jalen Brown. Oh, Pritchard banks in the three at the buzzer. Great in and out dribble. Oh, he set off the smoke detector.
What is up, everyone, and welcome in to your Celtics source. Happy Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Indiana, they took Game 1 in dramatic fashion, as they have done in every series these playoffs. I mean, it's just incredible the run they're going on right now. But, we have 30 minutes, and, by the end of this game, we could be looking at a bounce-back, blowout, 40-point win from OKC, or we could be looking at a continuation of just one of the most historic runs in terms of clutch shooting that we have ever seen. But we'll start with some of the adjustments that OKC has to make to basically exert the defensive powers that they have had all season and their MVP and SGA, because they struggled a lot on the offensive end, converting off of turnovers, and especially the very inconsistent shooting from some of their role players. But we'll start there, and then we'll go into what the Pacers have to improve, because you can't have another night where you have 19 first-half turnovers. Like, that's just not going to end the way it did in Game 1. But before we get started, please like and subscribe, follow on social media, hop into the chat. As I said, we have about 30 minutes or so till tip-off. We'll start with just the ball movement that the Thunder need to possess, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and JDub, they have to move the ball more. It cannot be the ISO-dependent sort of playmaking that we have seen from these two in Game 1, especially Shai, right? You can't have 38 points, but on 30 shots. Like, that is super inefficient. Like, that is terrible, almost. Like, that is one of the worst, percentages you're going to get from an MVP. Like, move the ball, get your other guys involved, right? You need guys like Lu Dort, Cason Wallace, all these spot-up shooters to get engaged early in the game so that they're in a rhythm come clutch time when you can count on them to make a shot, right? That's what the Pacers do. They move the ball around. Everyone feels like they have, they feel like they have the right to score, right? It's not just Haliburton and Siakam, right? They trust their guys, right? It doesn't feel like the Thunder played that way. It feels like Shai is the only one doing all the work, and that just can't happen, right? You got to cut down on, your help defense. I know that the Thunder are one of the best defensive teams, right? And they double a ton, and they get into the paint and make you kick it out. But we saw in Game 1, the Pacers exploited the Thunder's really one main defensive weakness, which is the corner threes, because they were driving into the lane and then kicking it out to an open shooter. If you're the Thunder, you have to trust that one guy is going to be able to guard the Pacers, right? One guy for one player. You can't be doubling, because the Pacers move the ball too well to, for that to work, right? It's not a team like the Celtics or even the Nuggets where, they move the ball slowly enough, right? The Pacers, 10 seconds into the shot clock, they might already have a shot up, because that's what they do. They look and they take the earliest available shot, even if it's not the most open shot, right? That's how they play. They play fast. They keep it moving. And that's why they get, 110 possessions a game, right? That's why they were number one offense in terms of scoring in the game. And they have been for the last 2 years. But, on top of that, you got to rebound, right? The Thunder went small to try and match up with sort of the quickness of the Pacers. And for the most part, it worked. Like, you did a good job of, right? If not for that, if not for you messing up on all of your transitions and points off of turnovers, you would have had a 25, 30-point lead at the halftime, right? So your small ball worked, but you got to rebound the ball, right? You can't give the Pacers a second chance if they miss a shot. If you're going to go small, every single player has to crash the boards to grab the rebounds. Because, if you're big, maybe only Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein need to crash. But if you're small, you're getting boxed out constantly by Siakam, by Turner, by even Haliburton, who's going to be a lot taller than some of those guys. You got to figure out a way to limit the Pacers to just one shot. Right? And I talked about this, a little bit before, but you need more effective star play, right? SGA, he's 26. He is coming into his prime years in the league. JDub, he's only 23. He's pretty young, right? This is why it's really hard for you to win on your first go to an NBA Finals or even conference final, because the stars, they're not ready for them, or sort of your younger guys, they're not ready for the moment. They haven't had as much, practice and sort of time in the spotlight, right? And we're seeing this from JDub, right? He has these games where he plays like the All NBA player or the All-Star All NBA player that he is, and then you get games like he had in Game 1 where he sort of, I don't know, like fades away, like he isn't available until late in the game, and even then it's very inconsistent shooting. He missed, a huge mid-range shot that would have probably won the game for OKC, right? Put him up at a number that was probably impossible for the Pacers to get back from. But you have to get him going early so he's in a rhythm. And that falls on both SGA finding his guys and JDub, taking some accountability for himself and making himself available and demanding that he gets the ball, right? You need a little bit more of that. You got to adjust to the Pacers' pace, as I said, right? You got to, either slow them down by, limiting the first attempt and making the Pacers take time off the shot clock, right? Because the longer it goes, it feels like the better the Thunder's defense gets, right? You can double the later the shot clock goes, because they have to get a shot up, so they're not going to be able to pass as well. But when you let them get easy shots in the first 10 seconds, the Pacers are getting whatever they want, right? And, if you're Mark Dagnall, I would consider not going small right away, because, right, they adjusted before the game even started to the Pacers, which is already a psychological advantage for the Pacers, right? Like, I talked about this, right, the other day when I did, live reaction after the game, and also, just a deep dive into the game. You're 80-18 on the season. You started this lineup, not about the half. Like, obviously you can change the lineup at halftime, but you started every game these playoffs this way, and you're 80-18 in the regular season. Like, why are you changing before you've even seen what this team has done? And I'm sort of torn on the small ball lineup, right? That's what they went to, and for the most part, it worked, right? You turned the ball over 19 times, or you forced 19 turnovers from the Pacers. Like, on one end, right, you have to score. Like, you're not going to win a game if you can't score the ball. That's obvious, right? So, like, if they just score, maybe this small ball lineup works. But on the other end, right, you have the rebounding problem, which I mentioned earlier. You have, them sort of a lack of size, right? That goes into the rebounding. That also goes into just, trying to guard a guy like Pascal, Siakam, Myles, Turner, who are much bigger guys, right? When you go small, you can get your hands on a lot more rebounds, or not rebounds, cause a lot more turnovers down low, right? We saw this when the Pacers would like feed the ball into the paint to Myles Turner and just, Caruso, Shai, JDub, they would all swarm and steal the ball, right? But, when you go big, obviously you have the problem guarding guys on the perimeter, which has been the hardest job for the Thunder this season. And it's not even guarding them. It's like, I guess, contesting shots on the perimeter, which is not really a problem from bigs, but more their sort of inability to get back out to corner shooting. But, we'll move on to the Pacers side. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? With the Thunder, there are multiple things you can do. On one end, you don't change anything because it works so well besides that offense. But then on the other hand, the offense didn't work. So do you change it, or do you sort of run it back and try again if you're the Pacers, or if you're the Thunder? As for the Pacers, I'm not sure either, because you can't have 19 turnovers. It doesn't matter whether they don't score or not. Eventually they're going to score, right? You cannot do that. You have to clean it up. And, I thought the Pacers did a great job of, including the role players, right? That was the problem with the Thunder, as I talked about earlier. But with the Pacers, right? Tyrese Haliburton, he's okay taking a back seat until the final stages of the game and letting other guys cook. I don't think you can do that again. I think you have to figure out a way to get involved, because we saw the Thunder basically execute their game to perfection, right? Eliminating Tyrese Haliburton from the play, right? If not for that last shot, right, we would have been blaming Tyrese Haliburton, saying he's not a superstar. He just cannot get involved, right? He has to be a more, right? With the Thunder, they're too heliocentric around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. With the Pacers, I don't think they're enough. Tyrese Haliburton needs to take more shots. It doesn't matter how clutch the shooting has been around him. Like, eventually that's going to, come down a little bit, and you have to find a way to, maintain your offense despite weaker shooting. And that's going to come from, Tyrese Haliburton generating shots, Pascal Siakam generating shots. I had a little bit of a mind blank there on his name for a second. I don't know how I could have done that. But, you got to keep pushing the pace. You got to take every little opportunity to get a shot early, right, before the Thunder can set their defense, right? You got to maximize Myles Turner, right? He is one of the elite unicorns in this league that can shoot threes and also play big at the rim, right? He's got to be able to take advantage of mismatches both on the perimeter with, pick and pop step back threes, and then obviously with rebounds and lob threats, right? You have to continue him. You also probably got to stay clutch. Like, despite, even if Haliburton, finds a way to get involved more, you still probably have to find a way to keep that clutch shooting. And, there's no reason to believe that's going to go down, right? They've had one of the most clutch shooting performances these playoffs of all time. Got to sort of continue to try your best on the defensive end. You got to find a way to slow down Shai a little bit. Like, if he makes just a couple more of those shots, we're talking about a 10, 15-point lead win for the Thunder, right? So I like their strategy of, letting Shai get his shots and, guarding everyone else, especially because you have two young players in Chet Holmgren and JDub, who it just feels like that, at least in game one, the moment was too big for them. So if you can continue to eliminate them, I think Shai, you'll let him get his points. But you got to make sure that it's an inconsistent shooting. You got to make it hard for him, right? Even if it's just guarding him with one guy, right? You don't have to double him, because, double or single, he's probably still going to get the shot up and you might foul him, right? The Pacers did a great job of not fouling him in game 1. But if you let him, just make it hard for him, you guard everyone else, maybe we'll see another game where Shai can't carry the whole team. I'm going to sort of wrap it up here. Obviously, we will be live tonight after the game. Tomorrow, we are not going to do a full deep dive into the game because we are going to do a different podcast, a Celtics podcast episode on Jalen Brown, or not even Jalen Brown, but a Celtics trade with the San Antonio Spurs, which, could include Jalen Brown. There's more to that than just Jalen Brown, right? The Spurs have a lot of different options they can go to. So do the Celtics. Spurs have a lot of picks, including this year's number 2 overall pick. So that could work well. But, like I said, we'll be live after the game tonight, right after the buzzer. Probably, 10, 15 minutes after the final buzzer, actually, because I got to, get ready for it and everything. But, sort of wrap it up. For the Thunder, you have to continue to include, if you're the Thunder, you have to find ways to get other guys involved, right? You got to play less heliocentric ball. If you're the Pacers, you got to limit those turnovers. You got to continue to dominate the rebounding battle. You got to continue to make clutch shots. Tyrese Haliburton has to get more involved. If you're the Thunder, you have to do you have to find a way to sort of limit the rebounding problem. And so, I think this game is going to be a chess match. It's going to be close the whole way. I'm going to have the Thunder by, I'm going to say 7. That's what I'm going to do. I think both teams are going to be able to do a much better job of the things that they did poorly in game 1. But I think the Thunder will be able to edge it out in the end. But it's not going to be a blowout. It's definitely not going to be they're definitely not going to miss. The Pacers are not going to turn the ball over that many times, but the Thunder are not going to do so poorly when they get those turnovers, right? There's going to be at least 15 turnovers from the Pacers because that's just what the Thunder do. But the question is, can the Thunder capitalize on them? But we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow on social media. Highlights, reaction content throughout the playoffs and then throughout the summer. Until next time, go Celtics. And, I'm rooting for the Pacers tonight.
It's over. Time to say it again, Boston. Anything's possible. Banner number 18 has been secured.